Hello, welcome to another episode of Greg Tech New Horizons. This is Zypher, and as you can see, we've got some work to do today. We're going to start off by completely filling in all three of these large chemical reactors. Running fine, and running fine. Now we're just going to come over here and replace our power line. That way we can sufficiently provide power to all of these industrial machines. And I think we've reached the point that we'll go ahead and transform on site. Grab a few more transformers. And finally, we can bring some 1X all the way over here to our last large chemical reactor, which in fact makes iron 3 chloride. Now I should be able to add a couple patterns to this interface and see if these are quite requestable now. All I want to do is first enable this LCR, which makes us iron 3 chloride. But before I do that, I do want to get rid of this super tank full of persulfate, so we're going to pump that directly into the hatch, which should prevent this from exporting its iron 3 once we start it up. Grab a fluid detector and a machine control cover, do our normal setup, and the minute we put this on disable, it should cut the chemical reactor on. We just need to make sure we add iron to our interface. Iron is now populated. Let's try the sucker out. Well, the fact that I didn't lock the hatch does not help at all. We also need to come to our P2P connection and do an insert and out to allow the hydrogen to escape. If the super tank wasn't full, I have a feeling is the case. Indeed it is. Alright, now with the hydrogen gone, we can go ahead and fully enable this. Not going to do anything because we have iron 3 chloride already in here. And what we can do for now is add both a persulfate and an iron 3 chloride recipe. Oh no, you don't want to go in there? Boy's acting a little finicky, I see. We'll add both of these recipes in here. Matter of fact, we should just need to add one because it's going to use whatever fluid available to run this recipe. Now I believe I should be able to request 192 of these. Probably need to enable the machine so it actually will work. Well, that's actually not going to work, seeing as we have specific item filters on this, so we're going to have to adjust that now that I think about it. For now, we can manually load this up, all for the sole purpose of getting rid of this sodium persulfate that we're sitting on. And just until this finishes, I think we are going to put a drawer with a conveyor, which should allow this to run pretty quickly. Upgrading the pump on the tank definitely helped this run a lot quicker. Problem is now we're out. We'll just trash that little bit of persulfate that we have left. And we should see this fill up with iron 3 and that large chemical reactor turn on. Still not voiding any hydrogen, that's great. Reload this with our last batch. Grab some more foil. And we should be all set up now. Now I believe we should be able to craft up a bunch of these bad boys here. We're going to go for a fat batch of 256. Said we were missing 340 gold. Luckily we have plenty here that we can smelt. Now let's try our 256. Says we can do it. And it looks like we did get hung up somewhere. Shall we go investigate? This guy never got activated. That should do the trick. Well, with our circuit board situation resolved for the time being, I ran into a little constraint of needing some gold, which leads me to this little project. As you can see, I'm batch crafting a good 64 EV motors at the moment. We can see the count going up. I'm going to come over here and make a bunch of them into some pumps, some energy hatches. Now we're just going to wait on a couple more EV energy hatches to finish up. And since we blew this up about 10 minutes ago, again off camera, time to make a new one. I already took care of the little crater it caused, however, we do need to rebuild it. This time we make sure we put the transformer underneath. We're running fine multismelter, now we just need to interface some things. We'll plop two interfaces down here, name each one. On our input side, we can go ahead and start adding things that we want automatically pulled. We actually need to move that interface to directly underneath to enable extremely quick output. Grab a glass cable to go right here to power him, and an item conduit here. Should start to see all of our dust come in like so. Now we just need to power without blowing things up. So we'll add our last line. No explosions is always great. Really wish I would have gotten that on camera earlier. Next up, 26 maceration stack casings. Finally have the Hulk smash quest. Now we just gotta figure out how we want to assemble this. Well, I had recorded an entire hour-long clip of me setting up this new chemical reactor and this large processing factory, but I had unplugged my microphone to adjust it and never plugged it back in, so it didn't record any of my voice. So sadly, instead I have to explain it to you right now, and pretty much what we did is just wall shared the iron 3 chloride LCR and now have one specifically for requesting nano CPU wafers. I can come in here, just request 24, and we'll have those made in a jiffy, actually. I believe the recipe is 15 seconds, yep. So that helps improve circuit automation a little bit better. And then we have this large processing factory currently set to miscellaneous mode, or mode C. And in this first hatch, we have it in precision laser engraver mode. And this one right here was just a test and is going to be making us CPU wafers. Now it did take me some time to figure out how to get it to work properly. And I had to come over and look at the tooltip and see that it says to read the multi-machine manual for extra information. So I crafted that sucker up. And in that book there's multiple pages that describe all the different modes you can be in and what circuit numbers you need to put in the hatches for each respective different mode. Now, I just got done crafting up, why do you look like that? I just got done crafting up a 4th gas turbine because I keep running into problems with this one turning off anytime he's activated by the platinum process, which I really should just move this over there. Might be something I consider doing here soon, actually. But for now, we're just going to install this 4th gas turbine to temporarily band-aid the situation. Should have all the parts I need. We'll take our invisible fluid regulator, install him onto the side here. And I'm noticing it says the optimal flow is 13 and I had all these set to 16. I wonder if that changed when I updated the pack. Probably. Sir, I think it just bugged all the way out. And I think I might be like 2 casings short, but we will see. Negative. Just enough. Now, according to my calculations, this should be about close to 7 amps being put in on both sides of EV, which should be able to recharge this and keep up with everything over here just fine. That is until we upgrade. This room is going to get a major makeover here in the next, hopefully this episode, if not next episode. Now, before I get into what I'm doing over here, I want to show you something else that I just did. Introducing another 2 large chemical reactors. One here makes indium concentrate, and if you could guess, the other one here makes both indium and lead zinc solution. I have the lead zinc solution being sent to an IV electrolyzer, which gives us our materials back. It also has a buffer above it since we could get a bunch of this really quickly, avoiding the water that it produces as an output. And now we can come over to our interface and just straight up request if we want, I don't know, 10 indium. It'll tell us how much aluminum it's going to cost as well. We just hit start, and before too long, I think every 5 seconds or maybe every 15 seconds we get an indium. Now what I'm doing at the moment is getting a way for us to make plant balls a lot easier. A few different recipes only require 4 of the item rather than 8. Argentia, indigo, and then these little guys here. These don't necessarily go as 4 per plant ball, but they grow so fast that they'll be an excellent source for us to compress down. So I'm just breeding some crops up to get some more of these leaves so that in hopes we can quadruple a lot of these ores that we have stockpiled at the moment. Ultimately, I really just want to be able to put this bad boy to use that I spent a bunch of time trying to design in hopes that it will process and quadruple a lot of our ores very quickly. Up top I have an output bus that has an interface attached to automatically output its ores into. And then I have 2 separate interfaces, one to import leaves and another that'll import ores for us. We have this conduit on extract purple and the rest of these on insert purple, each with filters in them. So we'll just add titanium and scheelite to these filters and we should see them start to populate. Beautiful. So we're just spending some time here in the breeding area. And messing around with some crops. I already have a little portion of our crop field here dedicated to berries. And I'm also taking some time to upgrade some of the plants we already had in here with higher stat ones. But just as a test so we can see, or so you guys can see how well this LCR works, we're going to run some aluminium, or I guess just whatever it has in it already. Now the titanium and scheelite we might not see populate into our ME system as it'll go straight to the maceration stack, but we will see the crushed aluminum. We can see just how quickly our ores can get quadrupled. And now we just have to take this new item and add it to both the maceration stack and the centrifuge. Now, to take care of a couple other problems I've run into, like hydrogen running completely out, we take a look at this LCR. For the longest time, there was actually no methane in here. And that is because I had these bad boys off, actually. We had taken out all the sugarcane from our crop farm here, and so we were producing no more plant balls, aka fermented biomass. However, that is the entire reason I started breeding these, and we now have a decent stockpile in our system, And I now have all the berries we produce being sent directly into this EV compressor, which does our entire process for us. Now we just need to stockpile our berries, crops, and we should start to see a lot of these processes kick back in. Luckily, we're not too terribly low on cetane boosted diesel yet, so I think we may be able to recover. Here soon, I'll have a decent amount of this little field filled out with berries, and we'll be happy-go-lucky, ready to start moving into LUV. It looks like our pyrolyse oven is able to stay full, for the most part at least, which means we've started to back up on methane, which also means we started to back up on hydrogen. Now, one thing I did happen to notice, this output hatch was not locked and had ammonia chloride being made via this chemical reactor. And so in theory, we had two different hatches filling up with ammonia chloride, which is what was making our hydrogen just disappear. Ever since patching that and locking the hatch to just ammonia, we are good to go. My next order of business was to get this bad boy up and running. For now, some cinnabar dust, but that's what brings me to this next clip, is I want to try a little technique here. So we'll just add an extra line to our backside of the centrifuge, attach an ME interface here. We're going to name him Now we'll have an item conduit that we'll put on extract Bred, active with the signal, which means we need to insert this guy on red. Now what I wanted to try is if I add an item detector cover here, we'll set this to the threshold of 2 and see if that works the way I want it to. We'll grab some red alloy wire. I don't think item threshold of 2 will work. We'll have to put 1, I guess, and invert it. Maybe we'll just try 0 first. We'll red alloy wire that into our conduit, maybe. Add this to our interface, and hopefully we only see this start to extract redstone from our ME system if the cinnabar reaches 0. And we can test that theory by removing cinnabar from the interface. Might have to wait for it to blast some of this down before we can test the results. So yeah, I read the wrong slot and didn't even activate the conduit. We've got some work to do on this. Alright, well, this logic seems to have done the trick. We have our same logic that will extract redstone if it notices the cinnabar hatch is empty, and we slid the fluid conduits over some that is extracting the mercury and added a fluid detector cover that will automatically shut off by sending a signal to a machine control cover when it notices that mercury hatch full. Now all we have to do is add some more ores to the chemical bath and let it process. Well, it appears our logic right here still failed us for some reason. I really don't know how to set this properly unless I make this a ULV input bus, which I might just do, because I figured if I have it inverted set to 0, yeah, who knows, I might have to play with that a little bit more, but we do see that the redstone is being processed to mercury. And I should be able to take all of this magnetite here and drop it into our other storage drawer underneath. Now I think with hydrogen fixed and fermented biomass up and running, and even a little bit of ore processing stuff figured out, let's go ahead and grab our last oxygen tank. And we'll head up to our platform, grab our chest just in case, and load her up. 100% full on fuel. I think we're ready for liftoff. Initiate the countdown, please. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back to Ganymede we go. Descending from the atmosphere, we'll grab out our bow and arrow, because I already know sometimes we come here and it's the brink of midnight. Luckily we came here about noon maybe? I was right on the dot actually. It is indeed about noon. Now let's make quick work and go gather our miners. Interesting that our needs maintenance cover didn't work properly. Wonder what I did wrong there. And as I'm mining these up, I just realized we left all 6 other stacks back at home. Such a beautiful looking setup. Props to you, Apex. This one has maintenance problems as well and didn't illuminate either, so we'll have to figure out what I did wrong here. That was a lag kill. And now we just need to find at least one new vein for now to put this on. I really want to try to get some plutonium, so I think we might try to put them up here. I think here would be the best spot, and we'll try our luck at it. Why do I not see the waypoint? Because it's brown. And he already enabled himself after the maintenance was complete. Our turbines are covered. Now I believe we can go back home and grab our other mining pipes. See you later, Ganymede. Very quickly, actually. Bye-bye, miner. Oh, hi, old base. Look at these guys just chilling in here. Let us not forget to fill our heavy oxygen tank back up. And we have liftoff. Even though for some reason we don't have rocket engine noise, but we'll be back very quickly, overworld. And another unlucky time. Well, I'm glad that thing kept me safe. Now, one thing I did notice I forgot to do was chunk load this miner. Put 2 more stacks of mining pipes in him. Energy hatches. Input hatch. Input bus. Output bus. Ender chest. Ender tank. Gas turbines. The multi-block has formed. Let's reorganize our covers here since I changed the orientation. Great, now that's all set up, we can go ahead and enable extraction. It'll power our turbines. And we should just be able to come over here and disable with redstone, per usual. If I input the mining pipes. And we are good to go. And now we should just be able to use our tower and return to the overworld. Mining trip number 2.5 complete. See you later. Please tell me before too long that you start to deposit plutonium. That's all I want. Well, it's been quite some time later, and I do indeed have quite a bit of plutonium waiting on us to process. We look at our processing chain, it looks like we can only really get 238 and lead out of this. So I think we'll go ahead and just macerate it and centrifuge. First we designated a spot, and then we add it to an interface, and then we come to our centrifuge for impure dusts. And we'll add plutonium to this. Now that leads me to our next step, this new travel anchor you see hovering in the background. Introducing a start to a new room. This is underground and will start to become our circuitry processing area, for a lack of better phrasing. Our first large chemical reactor we're going to set up is going to be for, you guessed it, radon. I've got all the hatches and everything placed, I believe. I think all I need to do here is put in our chemically inert casings. And we'll need to grab an energy hatch as well. Now, since our power cable is in the roof, this is going to get a little wonky here to run AE power cables, or AE cables in general, but we're going to try our best. Well, I almost forgot about this bad boy here, but we'll get him in place. I really want to turn particles back on now. I might add that somewhere else eventually, but we'll keep it here for now. Now, in theory, I should be able to disable this with redstone, safe mode, and start our loop. And we'll see just how quickly this can keep up, but it might become necessary to just request this in the multismelter and send it right back. I'm really hoping we see this start up. I forgot the circuit. Oh, better. 4 seconds we get radon. And as we can see, this definitely isn't going to be able to keep up very quickly. Maybe that just means we increase our buffer size. Maybe not. For now, we'll let it run. If we start to see it bottleneck, like I said, we'll add it to the multi-smelter. Next up, I think I want to get this guy completed. Now, this processing array is going to be explicitly for recipes with polyethylene, redstone, and like I said, PTFE. We can go ahead and load up our first interface, which is going to be for SMDs or program 3s in general. And we'll just grab a circuit, change him to a program 3, slap him in his input bus. Now, just out of curiosity, if we request 64 of these, let's see just how quickly it can craft all 1500 of these SMD parts. This is a true test of our PA. Look at AE at work. Those numbers going down so fast. And look how quickly they're being crafted. This was an excellent decision. We will now have much faster circuits, which just means all around faster processing times in general when auto crafting. Our next bottleneck looks like nano components, which I'd assume is just how long it takes to cut them. And for some reason, we are not crafting now. I'm so dumb. I didn't put any machines in here for it to try to process anything. Come on now, Apex. Get it together. We'll take you. We'll take you. Definitely take you. I think we'll leave you for now. And just make one more. Okay, let's try this one more time. Huh, like magic. Starts to craft things. So now if we come and watch, we can see just how quickly it makes these in comparison to before. In all this time we've spent jacking around with this PA, we've already got 55 buckets of radon. Now I'm trying to decide the next thing I want to bring down here. Thinking maybe we could put maybe quantum eyes and quantum stars right here. With a wall shared LCR, shared input hatch of radon. But then I also am thinking maybe I should bring down our circuit board LCRs with iron 3 chloride. Everything needs to come down at some point, so I figure why not just start doing everything. I'll come back when I get a little bit more of this filled in. Also, you may be wondering what all that's for, but I really want to clean some of this area up. I goofed and built our entire PBI line on a chunk boundary, and it's already cut off on me one time. And I honestly don't really have much more space in here to drop this bad sucker into. So I'm thinking maybe we're just gonna move this downstairs too. I have so many decisions to make. I kind of want to keep this long one up here because it goes with the plastic lines. But if I keep it up here, I need somewhere to put it. And that's a pretty massive chain of LCRs. Wow, it could fit pretty perfectly along this back wall, especially if I move our alloy blast furnace to another location. Maybe that's what I'll do with that. But I know for a fact I want these 4 LCRs to come down underneath, and I might even bring our indium gallium combo down there as well. Anyways, it appears I've got some work to do around here, including moving tons of machines and all sorts of stuff, maybe even managing a little bit of our crops. So give me a few and I'll catch back up with you guys in a little while. Okay, so I think I've got this just about sorted out finally, and I want to take you guys with me as I put in the final steps. Hopefully this works the way I have it planned, but the first thing we're going to do is add an interface to the top right here. We're going to name him Nano CPU Input, and this guy here is going to get pattern for this and the pattern for these, I think. Now we attach an item conduit to here, extract on lime, extract on lime, always active, and connect. Next will be another interface, this time named circuit board's input. We'll load both of these recipes into this interface, attach an item conduit, purple channel, connect. Last but not least, which I can do from up above, we'll try to place this P2P connection on top of our conduit, but if it doesn't work, then I can place a glass cable in its place. Like so. Disable that connection. Now we should be able to add our P2P on top. Now I just need to come over here and grab the frequency. Again, I really need to make more memory cards. We'll link this P2P connection. Add a fluid conduit to the top. We'll do in and out, extract on red, and also insert on red. And make our final connection. Now all I should need to do is disable with redstone and put on safe mode. It shouldn't make anything because its hatch is full. Now at some point I will have to make this maintenance side a little bit more accessible, but for now this will do. Everything should be running fine now. This shouldn't make anything because its fluid level set to 1000. And we have some in the input hatch ready to make recipes. Now let's put this to the test. Since it appears we're starting to run a little low on IV, we'll do a test run of 64 of these. We need to smelt up some gallium real quick. And I guess we also don't have any more circuit boards available. Maybe let's just try HV circuits for now. Let's request like 128 of these. Still need a little bit more gallium. I just love watching all the little parts finish and go on to the next step. And the list grows shorter and shorter. Alright, now here's where it hangs up because we haven't enabled our machines. Or maybe they just started working on their, these two have covers on them, okay. So what we need to do is enable this machine here. And now we should see everything we need being deposited. Only thing I foresee us needing is some more soldering alloy, so I'll go ahead and queue that up. And now that we're starting resistors, we should see our HV start to go up actually. Yep, here we go. Well, it looks like we're going to be a-okay. I'll let these suckers finish crafting, and we'll move on to the next thing to move. Okay, so I might have lied. Maybe not moving on to the next thing to be moved, but the next, like, 10. I did happen to go on about a 2-week vacation, and not necessarily for the best things. Had a couple different reasons, but I'm back now. And yeah, I've just been doing a lot of quality of life improvements in the meantime. Now I did also switch up the way that we're processing our radon. Instead of having a furnace here, I have it just being automatically put into our multismelter and then fed back into here. I've also added qubit processing as well as HPIC processing for our IV energy hatches. And if we come up above, this is where a bunch of our work has been done. I went ahead and upgraded all types of drawers to emeralds, so that way we can start to store all of the minerals we're getting from our miners. Even got these upgraded as well and even sorted them a bit. One thing I wish I would have done is shown you how I kind of extracted things that were stuck in our AE system and not in the drawers, but really all that consisted of was taking a dolly, pressing it down so it was no longer connected to the drawer network, and then I have this interface here with an IV conveyor, I believe, that is set to export and will export any items that I have set a filter to in the interface up top here in my lovely get me out interface, and shove it directly into the drawer, which only goes into its specific slot seeing as it's locked. Now in doing that, we did free up all types of different storage, and I also added some auto crafting in here so we can start processing 64K storage components super easily. And just to give you an example, I'll go ahead and make 4 of them right now. You can see we have all the materials required. And of course, now that I'm trying to show you guys an example, nothing wants to work properly. I really don't know why this processing array won't process our transistors. So yeah, it turns out I had this item processor tier 2 only in HV assemblers when this requires them to be in at least EV, which was what was bottlenecking us, seeing as that's the voltage level that I have inside of here. So I just moved that recipe up. It finished processing the transistors and everything's happy now. And like I was trying to say before, we have 64Ks automated. Now another thing I did was split up our polybenzimidol LCR, seeing as it was crossing a chunk boundary right here. And now I have it split up half on this side, half over here, which satisfies our chunk boundary problem. I didn't realize all hell was breaking loose out here. I'm very sorry about that. So our next big project we have to tackle is converting everything from ender fluid conduits over to AE P2P connections. And the reason we're doing that is I had this chemical bath here with epoxid. I had it insert on molten epoxid, P2P connection. I mean, I had all types of machines over here using P2P fluids with ender fluid conduits, and for some reason this one just would not accept molten epoxid. So we're switching everything over in hopes that that takes care of that problem, and man did I underestimate how big of a project that was going to be. So far I've gotten the fuel done, I've gotten some of our basic chemicals done, and I'll kind of explain these little antennas you see at the top in a moment. What we're working on though right now is converting the rest of both iridium, palladium, and then we'll work on our plastics all over to P2P connections. I believe I've got everything over here fully up and running. We can even verify just by quickly watching each machine come on. Forgot this guy actually takes quite a few pieces before he runs, but seeing as it's not built up, I believe he's good to go. And that he is. Should send something over here, yep. And then it goes into here. And all is happy. So yes, let's go ahead and start working on iridium. Okay, so I realized that I actually needed to set up a good process for fluorine as well as titanium tetrachloride. So I'm doing that at the moment, but I wanted to peep in and show you guys this setup that I've figured out for redstone control. So for instance, I'm making fluorine. I have a fluid detector cover on the bottom of this set to 128,000 with a red alloy wire underneath on top of that cover running down the side of the block behind it and into this transmitter. This wireless transmitter we're going to go ahead and set at a specific number for control, 209, and we'll set the frequency here to fluorine control. Now I'll go ahead and attach our last wire, facade to go on top of it, a facade, however you want to say that. I know people pronounce that different ways. And then on the very top here, we'll come to our receiver, set this to 209 as well. We have a red alloy wire on top, which is actually a casing, and then a machine control cover set to disable with redstone, safe mode. And before long, we just need to attach a conveyor here, a pump out on the side, which will allow us to both allow input of fluorine and export it into the P2P. Let me grab our conveyor, set this to import, and we should start to see both oxygen and fluorine come out of our system here. Fluorine's deposited, and I believe since these are GT++ blocks, they will not. As soon as I went to say that, I noticed it's voiding oxygen. We're not too worried about the oxygen though, as I have our sugar set up over here as well. Now with fluorine automated, we should be able to come over here and establish this P2P connection. Go ahead and wire these two up. Output hatch is hydrochloric acid, I believe. We'll set this P2P to fluid, rename him so we know what he is. And our last one is a whole nother process to set up, titanium tetrachloride. Alright, I think I finally have this large chemical reactor for titanium tetrachloride ready for takeoff. Go ahead and change this over to disable redstone. Should be able to watch this climb, and it's not going to be transported anywhere yet. And that's great. Now we can go ahead and finish our BTFE setup, I believe. Should just need to connect all of these up with cables. Why did I just put them away? I don't know. It's 3, 4, 5, and 6. We can just put these down to the top, I think. Should see that bump up to 12. And everything start to come back to life, it appears. And that is officially 2 of the plastics complete. Now we just have 4 more, I think. I'm so tired of doing this already. Now just a couple of quality of life enhancements before we end the episode. First is this advanced memory card, which has a pretty simple recipe. But this should allow us, I might jack this up the first time, but we'll see. Should be able to grab this address 43C for ammonia, switch this over to bind input mode. Actually, I think we'll keep bind output, seeing as the input is actually right here. We'll check our coordinates. That might make this a little easier, 286, 466. Here it is. We just had to simply change it to a fluid type for it to pop up in the menu. I think I just need to click bind. It did indeed fix this one here. Now we just need to fix some of the others. I believe it's namely this one here, which is still linked to our old ammonia address from a long time ago actually. We'll see what coordinates he's at. I almost wish there was a way you could sort this by descending coordinate numbers. But here we go, this one you can tell is not linked. So we can go ahead and bind this. And now we can see he's blue and has joined the network and also filled up, allowing us to continue making tetranitromethane. Next up on our list is going to be this wireless terminal. Shouldn't be too painful to make. Okay, finally I have the wireless terminal. It only took me so long because I spent a bunch of time patterning a few things out, such as the Fluix Pearl, the receiver, pattern capacity card, 16K storage components, and good circuit boards too. And looks like luckily I've already crafted up the security terminal and wireless access point that I was going to need next. I just got to figure out where to put this. For now, until I run out of channels on him, I guess I could put him here. Unless he doesn't take a channel. Our next little quality of life update is going to require some HSSG, LUV circuits, and 2 nether stars for 2 field generators. Now we come here to our EV assembler, borrow its fluid input, throw in a couple handy items here. I did not make these plates. Here we go. And in about 100 or so seconds, we'll have what I want. Here's one wireless charger. I think in theory, should be able to just place this right here, right? Output is EV. Now I would think I start to see my chest plate charge. Well, that's looking quite debatable at the moment. So maybe we try this one? Yeah, Tesla would be pretty proud, huh? Oh wow, look at that. There's 2 things charging already. How far away does this work? Okay, not super far. But this is a main area that I travel in. What about right here where I sit? No. That is. Maybe it's doing 1 at a time. That's probably more like it. Still can't get it to link in here for some reason. I'm not too sure what to do about that. Well, somebody in the Discord brought it to my attention that this is not the correct wireless terminal anyways. We actually need this wireless crafting terminal for it to be any use to us. So I'll be crafting that up in between episodes. And I also noticed that my equipment did indeed start to charge and hold what it needed to in the grand scheme of things. I just wasn't able to see it, I guess. But anyways, that's going to be all for this episode. I know it took such a long time yet again, but we all know how life tends to get in the way sometimes of us being able to do the things we want. If you tuned all the way in to the very end of this, thank you very much. Hopefully I'll have another episode out in the next week or 2, and we'll soon be getting into LUV territory. Thanks guys.